Hey guys, you're watching Daniel and Gian talk, and today we are going to review the 2010 feature film starring Shahrukh Khan, aka SRK. My name is Khan.
It's Han.
Khan.
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 It's not Khan.
Although everybody else said his name Khan, and
I know, and he
was
didn't
the
say
one.
anything
And
about it.
What was the part of the throat he was talking about?
I don't know.
It was some weird name.
But yeah, that was funny.
But the film is about a man with Asperger's syndrome who moves to the United States, gets married, and ends up having to deal with the repercussions of 9/11.
As well as his child's death as a result of 9/11.
As well, that's a repercussion of 9/11.
Well, I mean, it's specific. Anyway, sorry.
I mean,
to
that's
interrupt.
a big part, but it's basically like his life as an autistic man in the U.S. after 9/11, who's also a Muslim, and the things that are happening to his family, and so on and so forth, as well as other people from of Middle Eastern and Indian descent. You know, we have a scene where he's at a motel in the middle of nowhere owned by a Hindu guy, and the guy, you know, he keeps getting his windows broken because people, you know, assume that he's, you know, Muslim. Because at that point, there's a lot of people out there just lumped everybody from that part of the world together, even if the cultures are completely different, and you know,
Right.
the religions are, you know, the biggest religion in India is obviously.
It's a message film.
Yeah.
It's a film with a message.
Yeah, there's definitely a message. And it was almost 3 hours. Not surprised by that.
Nope.
And it was just it was interesting. If you follow us on Twitter, Daniel's already kind of voiced some of his
Which is why I'm quiet right now.
feelings about the film, but there's some things I liked about it.
We're gonna start with the positive.
I like the
and then
first.
We'll get into
I
the,
like the first act. I thought the first act was pretty good. I thought, you know, seeing him as a kid and, you know, the things that he did as a child and how he kind of elevated himself in the community, and then seeing his brother being jealous because fair enough, like his mother was paying more attention.
Yeah.
Which happens though when you have a child with special needs. You usually give more
attention to
time
him
and,
or
and-
her
and
because
effort
they
to them.
need it.
Exactly. And you know, and he was a child and he didn't understand, and that made sense as well. You know, but he harbored resentment into adulthood where he left, and you know, his mother passed away. Hadn't seen his mother in years because of that harbored resentment. We see these characters being developed and the complexities of it all, which I thought was really well
Yeah,
done.
the first 40 minutes was fine. I had no problem with it. I mean, I could make gripes about it, but as I was watching those first 40 minutes, I just kept thinking about all the comments, people who said, "Oh, this movie sucks. It's terrible. It's blah, don't waste your time." And I'm like, "Why? This is fine." Like these first 40 minutes, I thought, "Okay."
Yeah, and SRK had definitely had an interesting take on Asperger's. You know, I'm not sure how
He was more Dustin Hoffman than Asperger's, in my opinion.
a little bit. Yeah, he was definitely less Bill Gates and more Rain Man-ish for sure.
It was definitely and I know people don't like us comparing it to American movies, but you cannot not compare this movie to Rain Man. But you know, I enjoyed the mother's stories to the kid, you know, to Khan. You know, the whole the theme of the movie was stated very early. The lollipop and the stick metaphor, where she like draws out what's the difference between this person and this person.
Yeah.
You know,
it's basically the whole movie's about being a good person versus a bad person.
Whether or not
you know?
you're Muslim or whatever it is,
Right.
you just
The only thing that exists in this world are good people and bad people.
Exactly.
Everything else is kind of irrelevant.
But you know, so and then the mom's death hit for me. Like I felt it. Like it was built. It just felt right. Like her character had a full arc, and it just earned everything.
I think a lot of the emotionality in the film was hit fairly well for the most part. There was a lot of stuff, you know, regardless.
I would argue with that.
I
completely.
I felt the emotion in a lot of the scenes where you wanted to feel emotion. How they came about getting that emotion, that's a different argument, I think. But I feel like when their characters were upset or sad, I felt it, and I was able to look past some of the.
I think you're lying.
No, I'm serious. I mean, there's like when the child dies, I think that's some of her best acting when she's like trying to like screaming at the dead body to bring it back to life. I thought that was like. That felt real.
I couldn't stop laughing.
Well, I'm pretty sure I know why you couldn't stop laughing, but we'll get to that part when we get to that part. But yeah, there was definitely things like that, and you know, some of the character building was done really well. Like I liked some of the characters for sure. But it had its issues. It had a lot of issues, and I guess I'll let. I mean, just don't railroad this.
I'm not gonna railroad it. We're gonna have a discussion about it. It's a review. This isn't me shitting on the film for 30 minutes. I'm not gonna do that. But when the movie starts off with the airport scene, right? They kind of try to make him seem like a terrorist. That's the whole bit. Like they try to hype it up, or not hype it up, but they try to just really beef it up to make him seem like he might be doing something wrong.
Right.
And then the film completely shifts to like a flashback.
Right.
And it kind of retells his childhood.
Which is interesting, I thought. Oh, before we hit into that, the other thing that I did like about the movie was the music. There was no like super Bollywood performance. It was all montage scenes, and it didn't bother me. I thought that was done well, for what it was.
Except the black church.
Yeah, we get to another one.
We're gonna, like I said, we'll get to that in a second.
We'll get to that, but like the montage scenes, especially at the beginning, I thought were done.
Yeah, because it didn't break out in a song and dance.
No,
it didn't
exactly.
need it because it would have been weird.
Exactly.
But with that being said, I didn't like that they started in the airport. I was asking, why did they need? How come this scene couldn't have played out in order? Why couldn't they just play this movie out in order? Why did they have to start there? It seemed really stupid to start there because
it took so long to get back to that being relevant.
53 minutes in, I wrote it down because that's the first time it's ever mentioned, like anything has to do with Muslims. 53 minutes into a movie, and that's your opening scene that's supposed to start the world, because that's everyone's first scene always establishes the world that the characters live in. That's the purpose of it. Usually it doesn't necessarily always have to do with the movie. I mean, this, but I'm just explaining to people out there that's what establishes the tone. Usually your characters, and at the very least the world that we're in, right?
Right.
And so this scene did that. It absolutely did that. Except the world that you go into for the next hour
is completely different.
Completely has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, why even bother to do that and let it be a surprise for new viewers who've never watched this movie, and then all of a sudden it becomes a movie about this 9/11 thing, because that's the whole purpose of it, right? Like it's supposed to be, like you said, this post 9/11 world. But at first, it's not about that.
Right.
So why not let it play out that way?
And you could almost make the argument that the entire movie is not about that. Like it's definitely a factor in the movie, but it's not really about post 9/11 either. There's a lot of different things going on in the movie.
There's too many things going on. There's too many cooks in the kitchen for this. That's my biggest gripe. If I had to stick to a technical argument as to why I didn't like it, there was just way too many stories and nothing that really bled into one another. I mean, towards the end, things were just happening to him just to happen to him. Like there was no purpose or reason or anything. They were just, let's have him get stabbed. Let's have him do this.
Well, here's and I'm gonna make a comparison as well. It went from a Rain Man type movie to Forrest Gump, exactly,
and not a good Forrest Gump.
No, like all of a sudden it turns this guy who's awkward into like this superhero.
Unnecessarily.
Out of nowhere. And, I mean, I think you had a pretty thing going at first, and then you all of a sudden threw these.
Yeah, the idea of him going around like telling people I'm not a terrorist is great in and of itself.
Right.
Why not show him fail at that? Why does it have to be some superhero story? Why does he have to be this revolutionary? For me personally, I just, it felt fake. I know it's a story. I know it's a movie, so you kind of have to disconnect a little bit and say to yourself, okay, take it at face value. But that doesn't mean I need to like it. That doesn't mean I need to enjoy it. And I just felt very odd at times. I mean, to me, it really, really started when the kid died.
Yeah.
Genuinely, when the kid died, that's when the movie just went completely downhill.
Right.
It never redeemed itself ever at any point. Because I had to actually pause and look if a soccer ball kick can actually rupture your appendix.
Oh.
Because I thought, and it can, but the likelihood of it happening is so low that's why it seemed so absurd to me.
Right.
Because it just wouldn't happen.
No,
it could happen.
That was ridiculous.
It was dumb.
Absolutely.
The fact that he died.
Well, they didn't even say an appendix. They said his spleen.
Oh, it was his spleen. Sorry. Whatever it was. Whatever it was.
And we don't know how long he was out in the field either.
And that's a thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, man, it's like, the kids are really going to just, I mean, is that really going to kill him, I guess is the point. How fucking hard do these kids kick? I mean, they better be playing in FIFA right now. They better be, Team USA with those kicking powers.
They could have done it more just beating him and leaving him there.
Yeah,
like,
why not just beat the shit out of him?
The soccer, the soccer ball thing was stupid, for sure. Like,
it was genuinely forced. It just wasn't real.
It would have been better had someone like really just kicked the shit out of his head. Somebody came back and Randy Ortoned his head.
Just literally, and not that I want to see a little kid get beat up, but at least it's more realistic.
Absolutely.
At least it's something where I get why they did it. I get it. Do something realistic.
Yeah.
That wasn't real.
There was different ways they could have gone about it.
I mean, I'm sure there's been kids who've died via soccer ball in the course of history. So like for me I'm sure there's gonna be some people triggered out there who are saying that's real. It happened to me.
I'm not so sure it happened to me. I'm still alive.
But you know what I'm saying.
I'm not sure a 13-year-old kid is gonna die from a soccer ball blow to the chest
in America. Because there had to been. They were at school, weren't they?
Yeah,
or something like that.
That's what I'm saying. Like we didn't see how long it took. Like there's just more details. Like
if they kicked him and then he got it ruptured and then they started beating the shit out of him or something, like they made it worse.
Yeah.
But they all seemed to know what it was about, and then I cannot believe a little child not squealing.
Right.
If it was your friend, that was the thing that really bothered me too. Is like the white kid, his friend, all of a sudden turned on him.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be your friend. I don't know about you, but I would never turn on my friends, regardless if
no, I see.
Okay, if you had to put some. All right, let's just keep it relevant. So let's say some fucking Puerto Ricans bombed. I don't know, whatever. Elvira Street. They just blew it up, killed a bunch of Mexicans. I'm not gonna be like, fuck you, Puerto Rican.
Right.
I mean, I'm not 13, but at the same time, I didn't start hitting on or hating fucking Indians or Muslims or anybody that was brown after 9/11.
I mean, I didn't think that was that much of a stretch because he is 13 and his dad just died in the Middle East and he's just looking to
which was fucking stupid. That's what started it too, because you don't see their family at all. And then the wife gets a phone call. So-and-so's going to Afghanistan. And then they're like, okay. And then they go over.
You could see it was set up because they had that dinner before.
That's the scene I'm talking about. The very first time you see
they didn't really address how every time the dad tried to shake Khan's hand, like he did some like some weird, like they didn't address it at all. Like the guy never like even talked like, why does he keep doing that? Like,
right.
He's just like, all right, okay, that's just him.
And then he dies. And then the very first thing is, I'm going to get mad at my friends.
Right.
And join the other white. I mean, let's be real here. They definitely took all of the stereotypes and all of the real life events that probably did happen and just put it all into one movie.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we can't sit here, you and I both can't sit here and deny that these things didn't happen to Sikhs, didn't happen to Indians, didn't happen to all these people across the country after 9/11. We cannot deny that.
No, definitely not.
But we also cannot say that was every single square inch of this fucking country, because it wasn't.
No, especially not in California.
This isn't me being defensive. This is taking place in San Francisco, and for what's important to me is San Francisco is one of the most liberal cities in the country. So and again, I'm not saying it didn't happen. So people will probably send us articles explaining that it did happen.
Right.
But to this degree in San Francisco,
had they moved to like Kentucky or something, would have made.
Yeah.
Even New York.
New York would have made perfect sense. Yeah. Because that's where that was the real shit was going on. Right. Because that was ground zero, literally. But so there's a lot of stretch going on. But I mean, there's one moment where there's something going on with Angels fans that I thought was hilarious. I forgot what it was.
They were at a train station.
They were acting super racist or something. Like, Angel fans would do that.
The kid sat him in the middle, and then when you saw the guy sitting next to his kid, he like switched. Yeah.
I'm like, an Angels fan would do that.
Yeah, Orange County people in general.
Definitely would do that.
Yeah, Orange County's like the only like Republican county in the state of California. It's where a lot of white people moved after like all the Mexicans and blacks started making it to California.
And they started going down south.
There's still a KKK chapter in Orange County.
There's literally KKK and Nazi rallies in Orange County. There was one just recently, I think last year, and then there was a bunch of fights and stuff.
Right.
But anyway, so that was funny to me.
After the death of the child, the movie fell off a cliff because there's just a ton of ridiculous things that started happening. Like I said, the Forrest Gump effect started happening. He gets on a bus. He starts meeting all these people. Like, the black town meeting the black family, which was fine. He met a nice black lady.
The mammy. He met a mammy,
which was also stereotypical.
Super stereotypical.
Like
that shit was hilarious.
Black people are not that welcoming. Now, I don't want to stereotype, but that lady would not have like just let. Oh, I'm just gonna let this dude in. Oh, you say you help my baby.
My baby, and I'm gonna give you my overalls, and
Yeah.
give Khan his overalls, and just all super big and stuff.
Yeah, I mean that was definitely it was a little ridiculous.
I mean, I get why it exists. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm sure if we made a film about well, I shouldn't say that because I don't think we would make it that.
Well, it wasn't.
Insensitive, but
It was about he met these people that were kind to him, so he wanted to repair, and it had to do with there's good people and bad people.
And exactly,
and it was in Georgia too. That's fine.
And there is a family out there in the world that would do this.
Yeah,
so,
but the church thing was ridiculous.
Where they're all singing, and then they let him speak too.
Yeah, and he's speaking in like another language half of the time too.
And they're all like crying and getting affected by it, like they know what he's saying.
None of you fuckers speak Hindi, or
But the thing that was funny about that scene was they're in the South.
Yeah.
Out of everywhere in the country, they would have probably ran him right out of the church.
Right.
They're maybe the
well, it's a black church, maybe not. I don't know. I've never been to a black church.
I don't know, man. It was a small town, full of black people, which is also interesting too in and of itself. But
yeah, but
then
also,
you add in the hurricane factor to it.
Yeah,
later on.
like that's when it started getting like that. Like,
and then he goes back.
It kept getting more and more ridiculous. Like, I have to go back and help Mama Jenny, and then and the town's like in this little like little hole in the ground, so it gets flooded immediately, and they're all hanging out in it.
And then it's a callback to Plant and Payoff. For those who watch our videos, there was a clear Plant and Payoff in that, which is at the very beginning he like somehow took all the water out with that bike, and now he's gonna clean the whole flood for the town too.
Exactly.
With his ingenuity.
He saves the town, and then the other people find him. So they all start going in the town, walking in the flooded
He gets stabbed
water.
at the town.
And everybody seems to find him in this tiny ass flooded town.
And his wife can't find him.
Yeah.
The whole time the wife's looking for him.
Exactly.
And then he gets stabbed.
Exactly.
And then he's out of the hospital like in a day or so or something like that. I don't remember if he goes to jail before that or after that. I'm not sure, because I know he goes to jail after he tries to meet George Bush.
I think he goes to jail before that.
Okay, so because he goes to jail, he's a prisoner, and somehow because he went to a mosque.
I mean, and that was ridiculous too. Like that whole like interrogation scene was like right off the bat, someone would have realized there's something wrong. The people and this is like something like
America's not that incompetent.
No, in the United States, if someone seems like there might be even a little retarded, a lawyer would have been in there saying we're gonna sue the shit out of you if you don't let this guy like right off.
I mean, they didn't. He didn't. Okay, to refute that a little bit, if he was suspected of terrorism under the Patriot Act, he wouldn't even had an option to have a lawyer. So I'll defend the movie there a second. But the CIA, the FBI, whoever had him interrogation, they would have known he wasn't competent. They would have just seen his behavior, and it was.
Well, there was also audio being aired on, like,
That's what I'm saying.
Getting out there, like, where he's saying, "I'm not a terrorist."
It's which was funny in and of itself.
And then, like,
too,
also, like, people wouldn't.
Somehow they caught crystal clear audio from like a zoom lens 400 feet away.
And not just that, but like, if someone's yelling, "I am a terrorist," like a terrorist wouldn't be shouting,
dude,
"I am a terrorist."
Yeah, like because when he's like, "I'm not a terrorist," and the white guy turns,
"Terrorist?
He's a terrorist."
It's like he said bomb in an airport.
That would never happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know very many terrorists. I actually don't know any. But I don't know. I would assume that terrorists don't go into places with the president and say, "I am a terrorist.
Yeah.
I'm a terrorist," and then they do their terrorist things.
I thought they were going to focus on his backpack more, and they didn't focus on the backpack
at all. Because he carried this huge, like, mountain climbing, backpack.
It got really try hard. That's the problem. Like, it went way too try hard towards the end of it, and that's when it was just like, man, wow. Now I understand why Dan. Like, I wasn't laughing. I was more embarrassed.
Because that's the only way I could enjoy it.
Yeah.
Was I was just like, oh my god, because I got excited. When the kid died, I was like, okay, maybe this is just a bump in the road.
Right.
Like every movie, not every movie, but some movies they're shortcomings. And that might be this movie's shortcoming. And I wasn't going to just start judging for the rest, but then it just started coming, and then it got exciting to me. Because I wanted everything that happened next to top what came before it, but not in a way where I was looking forward to it or it was making it. It was just funny.
Right.
Like, this genuinely was a great comedy.
Yeah.
The second half, through and through, a great comedy. So one thing about the kid that really threw me off is, So the medical examiner, when they were examining the body, the police come like the day after.
Yeah.
And they're like, we got the medical examiner examined the body and we determined it was a hate crime. Which, first of all, I don't know how the fuck you can determine that from a soccer kick. You know, he was found on the floor, right? And with the ruptured spleen. That's a hate crime?
Right.
I'm asking.
No, you can't.
I that's what they said though. And then
all you could say is he died from like blunt trauma, like severe, like, you know, like
he died because his spleen ruptured.
Yeah, well, but also because of internal like issues.
Maybe.
You know, well, I mean, his body was bruised. Obviously, his body's bruised up. He looked like he was beat up. You know, they could determine what ruptured the spleen, or they're supposed to, anyways. But you can't automatically assume that was a hate crime.
Exactly. And then 6 months later, they closed the case because, quote, there was no evidence.
Yeah, that doesn't work that way. It's a
cold
case.
But a few months later, they said that there was evidence of a hate crime.
Yeah. No,
you can't have it both ways.
No, it was.
Now
I gotta say, like, all the English-speaking actors, all the American actors in this movie were terrible. Like,
they were all bad.
They're all really bad. You know, say what you want about SRK's performance, or
I thought SRK.
I think the woman's name is Kajol. I think that's her name. The love interest, yeah.
She was fine.
I mean, I guess they've been in a lot of movies together since the 90s.
That makes sense.
No, she was fine. No, I liked her.
I mean, even SRK was fine. I felt like to make a joke out of it, I think he went full retard.
Everybody knows you never go full retard.
What do you mean?
Check it out. Dustin Hoffman, Rain Man, look retarded, act retarded, not retarded. You got Tom Hanks, Forrest Gump. Slow, yes, retarded, maybe, braces on his legs. But he charmed the pants off next to him and he won a ping pong competition? That ain't retarded.
I feel like he did this to try to win an award from it, for sure. Like, that's why anybody does that kind of performance. But and you know, like we said earlier, like, he maybe not necessarily accurately portrayed someone with Asperger's.
I mean, everybody, because
here's what I really took from it, and this even happened at like the beginning of the movie, was like he was so autistic that it was hard for me to believe that the woman, I can't remember her name, whatever, Marindra, was it Marindra?
I don't know. I don't understand how they got married.
Exactly. Like how she
fell in love with him.
How she was able to look past it because it was that bad. It wasn't mild. It wasn't like kind of just like a weird tick. It was like, he
was full on, like,
it looked like he was cross-eyed. He would always, like, you know, he wouldn't look at anyone in the eye.
You know, and that's not to say that certain people can't genuinely fall in love with whoever they want, you know, and that's, you know, that is what it is. But there's also this thing where maybe it's just me, but if I see someone suffering from something like that, it's not that I pity them, but I don't find them like sexually attractive or,
right.
You know, it's not that like I said, it's not like I want to help them or anything like that, but I feel like we're not on the same wavelength.
Right.
So if I were to pursue something, I might feel like I'm taking advantage of the person.
Yeah.
That's the best way to describe it.
Absolutely.
You know, and so I wonder the inverse with the woman, you know, maybe because stereotypically women are supposed to be more caring and thoughtful. I don't know if that was the angle they were going for here.
Mandira.
But there's to go to one other positive thing though. And this was at the church. I believe I think Mama Jenny said this, prayer shouldn't depend on people or the place. Or maybe, no, I think Khan said this. I don't know. Someone said this. Someone said it somewhere in the movie.
Yeah.
Towards the end, during the shit part of the movie. And I really liked it because I wholeheartedly, I know what it was. Khan befriended some people on the bus and he was going to pray at the diner with all the white people. And they were like, you're going to pray here? And he's like, you can pray wherever you want. I like that. And then he went and prayed in the field or whatever. And so to me that's the stuff I like. Those are the subtle like messages that I like in my movies, where it's a very thought-provoking statement. It's a very thought-provoking action. It's simple. The stakes are simple. We all universally understand it, but you don't need to go to jail over, you know, I mean, it's not to say that he couldn't have gone to jail, but it was like we just said, this is the most unlucky guy in the world. Yeah. And then he meets Barack Obama at the end, which is a terrible Barack Obama. Yeah. And they didn't use his name. They kept flashing on the screen, first black president, first black. Shit.
And I was wondering, was that really George Bush in the movie? Because
the Bush looked good compared to Obama.
Man, if that wasn't George Bush, they got
It wasn't.
Oh, you checked the credits?
No, it wasn't. You could tell it wasn't. But it was a good Bush.
I don't know, man. He was on screen long enough.
It was a good
you're
Bush.
A George Bush expert. That guy looked exactly like Bush.
That's what I'm saying. They got Bush down right, but they didn't get Obama right at all.
Nowhere near.
Other than that he was black.
Nowhere near. When they first showed his full face, he didn't even look like a black guy. He looked like he might be like,
Do you feel like the over-the-topness of the second half of the film hindered the film's overall message? Like when you walked away, do you feel like you were affected by it? Or were you just just as indifferent as you went in? I'm not saying you were indifferent, but did you?
It definitely killed any like emotion I had in the
first part, right?
The first part of the film. But yeah, it was definitely like it was too much to the point where like I was like.
Would you have left the theater if you were watching this in the theater? Because you watched this movie because we have to talk about it.
Was it bad enough for me to leave the theater? No. I've never walked out on a film. I've never walked out of a theater.
I haven't either, because if you're going to spend the fucking money, you might as well sit through it.
I might fall asleep, things like that, or,
start pulling your phone out and texting.
Exactly, just focusing on
everything but the movie.
I mean, this movie did put me to sleep. Like, I was awake for the whole film, but I, was so tired by the end of it that I didn't go out.
It's exhausting.
I didn't work last night. Like, I passed out on the couch right afterwards.
It's an exhausting movie.
Yeah.
And
when it ended, I felt like it ended kind of abruptly too. Like I thought I had another half hour left in the film, but yeah.
Were you happy?
Yeah, definitely happy it was done. And I thought it was just funny that the only reason why he even went on this cross country Forrest Gump trip was because
of his wife
taking her super literal, where she says.
But see, and I didn't even have a problem with that. Like I said, I liked that. I liked that element. I really did. I thought it was ridiculous that she would. Okay, so let's go back a second, and we were just talking about how the believability of this woman marrying Khan.
Yeah.
It's a little sketchy, right? So if we're to take that leap, we're to assume that she's looking past his Asperger's and all of the problems, quote unquote, that he has, and fall in love with him, raise their kid together, because it's not even their kid, it's her kid, right?
Yeah.
But she's willing to accept him as the father and everything like that. The child dies, and she's going to divorce him immediately? And, and all this crap.
Well, she blamed him for it.
But it's not even his fault. That's what I don't understand.
Well, it was his fault because the only reason why the kid got attacked was because he was a Muslim, even though that wasn't true. They didn't attack him because of that. They attacked
him because he was fucking brown.
Yeah.
That's the whole. So to me, and I know that's the absurdity of the movie.
Well, that is kind of the point. Then he did die because he was a Muslim. Because even if you're not Muslim, those kids were going to assume that you were Muslim.
No, I know. I get that's the point of the movie. But to me, it's a little bit unrealistic that the woman was able to go that far for Khan.
But that's also that's the one where I gave it a pass
because that's the point of the movie.
Well, not just that, but because we do know about these issues between Hindus and Muslims in India, and she was a Hindu, married a Muslim.
But it never came up though. So you would assume.
They did bring it up though. They brought it up. They brought it up off screen, but they still brought it up.
Well, the brother brought it up.
The brother brought it up and then you saw it again when he went to the mosque.
No, I know, but I'm saying she never brought it up.
No, she never.
She didn't care. Neither did he.
She didn't even talk about religion at all.
And that's my issue. The brother brought it up. The brother said, if you marry her, basically don't come back here. And he and I enjoyed those scenes, when he went back and he stayed outside and all those. I really, really did like that those aspects, those dynamics. I can't even lie; those were good. Were they done perfectly? No, but I enjoyed them in the context of the movie. But it was just she never said any of this. She didn't indicate one way or the other. The mosque definitely indicated. People around them indicated, but she didn't. And if she had reservations,
but see, the thing is, I think that was just a heat of the moment thing where she just lost her child, and she was just looking to blame someone. She just lost her child. The cops weren't helping her out with anything. No one was helping her out. She felt alone.
And he wasn't helping because he couldn't comprehend it. He can't
exactly, and because of his issue, he wasn't able to comfort her properly.
And so this is, to me, this isn't a problem what we're talking about right now. It sounds like a problem, but it's just something that rubbed me. But I can accept it, especially when you compare it to everything else like that. This is nothing. But I just felt a little weird because she didn't, like I said, she didn't mention it at all.
Yeah, I don't. It wasn't an issue for me. I just think that was more like you have to kind of put yourself in her shoes and where she was at mentally, because she got over it real fast. Like immediately, she was like,
She wasn't immediately regretful.
No, well, we don't know how long it.
Oh yeah, that's
we
true.
Don't know
we
how
don't
much
know the
time
time.
had
Yeah.
passed. You know, it could have been a couple days.
I agree. I agree with
know.
that. I thought that one scene in the hotel that you were mentioning earlier was a little ridiculous when they do break his window.
Yeah, that was.
And then he goes out and he starts yelling at a car for like 2 minutes. He has this monologue about it.
It was definitely super exposition-y. It reminded me kind of Namaste.
Oh, London, where it was
Namaste,
like
London.
super over the top bit.
Super over the top bit about like just speaking.
That's written for the masses and not written to be a good movie.
Exactly.
Just written for the masses.
Exactly. But that also once again that touches upon the issues that Muslims and Hindus have in India, and I think that was just kind of a.
And I want to clarify
touch about that, and that's one of those like cultural things that we can't really like.
Well, see, I want to clarify that because what when we say that I didn't like the scene, or when I say I don't like the scene, it's and I say it's for the masses and all these things, it sounds super negative. But what I mean is this, you look at a film, and I'll just use Newton for an example, right? Newton touches upon voting in India and everything like that, and instead of having very heavy exposition moments like that basically touches upon the state of India, it kind of just shows you, right? Show, don't tell is a very common thing in writing. That was an example of showing and then doing a lot of telling in the gas station scene.
Well, we could actually compare that to a movie we just reviewed, and you can see the link right up there, Black Panther. That was one of my biggest complaints about the villain in the movie, Killmonger, was you never saw him show on screen that he was a badass. They just told you, whatever the FBI guy, CIA guy's name was.
He was trained by the CIA.
He was trained by
knows.
this and that. They called him Killmonger because he loved to kill people in the field, so on and so forth. Like, they just gave you this whole, dossier exposition moment.
And you just accept it.
And
so to bring it back to this gas station thing, like, they tell you this stuff, and since we know that generally what he's saying is kind of true or holds some validity, you're like, oh, okay. It's preachy, but it's not a realistic thing that someone would actually say in that moment.
And it loses weight. It doesn't. It makes it thin. It's just when you show stuff, it just feels more believable than when you just have somebody tell you everything about it.
Because the fact they did, that's the thing. They did show someone breaking his hotel window,
right? But
he could have went out and yelled at him, and then went back and talked to Khan and said.
But he turned it into a social thing,
and where he started yelling at a guy who's driving off. Like, that's not real.
Exactly.
If he would have yelled at him,
these goddamn Muslims! It's not my fault the Muslims bombed your thing. Blah blah blah.
And then he could have just decided if he told
Muslims can't stay at my hotel anymore.
If he decided to talk to Khan about this or something like that,
right?
It would have been a more personal experience for the audience as opposed to a preachy moment. And so to me,
like, go back into the hotel and
calm down, take a moment,
not
reflect
even calm
on
down,
that.
but telling him in the heat of the moment.
Audience calm down.
Yeah.
Like, you can control the tone of the audience by getting away from that and then kind of reflecting on it,
Yeah.
But that's not what this movie wanted to do. It was clearly made for the masses. I can kind of see why people enjoy it. If you really if you're not like a heavy movie guy or girl like us, where you actually scrutinize things and maybe you just go to the cinema once every few months.
I think this is definitely going down for me as one of those very regional films. Even though it stars the biggest star in India, and it was an expensive film to make, it still had that, like, this was not made for the rest of the world. This was made specifically for people who have these stereotypes in their head and have these assumptions.
Yeah.
And it completely like validates those assumptions,
as opposed to presenting a gray world, which is kind of both.
Yeah,
it's black and it's not just black and white. This world is black and white, and my name is Khan.
Exactly. So I think that,
and this isn't a slight at people who like this movie. If you like this movie, you like this movie. I like plenty of crappy movies.
Yes, he does.
Plenty, like, genuinely, and I don't even mean like, oh, I like to watch. I mean, I genuinely enjoy them. I love them. They're great. I love the prequel trilogy for Star Wars, and you hate me for it. Indiana Jones 4, another, like, these are movies I genuinely admire and like.
Yeah.
But, so if you like this movie, that's fine. I don't judge you. I might judge your taste of films now. I might understand your spectrum of, like.
Yeah, just think about that for a second, too. Like, Daniel likes the prequels, and he likes Indiana Jones 4. He's the guy that stops conversations at parties by bringing that up. Like, people will be slamming those films, and he's like the guy that has to jump in.
Wait, okay.
Yeah.
Tell me why it sucks. And then, blah 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 blah.
And then tries to defend it. No, it's not a personal criticism to anyone out there.
Well, let's get to the ratings then. First, before we go throw numbers out there, I want to know, better or worse than Sultan, this film?
Oh, this is worse. This is absolutely worse.
Follow-up question. The worst Indian film you've ever seen, or not?
I'm gonna have to say, yeah, no, definitely, because we haven't seen enough. I can't.
Of the ones we've reviewed.
Of the ones we reviewed, like let's throw them out there. What have we reviewed? We started with Bahubali.
Bahubali 1 and 2.
Yeah.
We reviewed Sultan. We reviewed Dangal. We reviewed
Chak De India.
Go Agan, excuse me. Chak De India.
Gangs of
Wasseypur, Three Idiots, and I think that might
Rahman
be it.
Raghav 2.0.
Rahman Raghav 2.0, which is weird. I like that one. I forgot about it. I think that's it. I do think that's
this is definitely the worst one out of all of them.
This is the worst Indian film I've watched personally.
Yeah.
And it is...
Not to say it's the worst ever, because we haven't seen all of them.
Right. It's definitely the worst.
Of our small library,
And Sultan was better, and I don't like that movie. Oh, I saw Tigers in the High. You didn't, and I saw Patman. This is still worse.
Yeah. Well, you saw Drishyam, too.
Drishyam. So let's get into numbers. You can go first.
I'm going to give this... I'm going to give it a 4. I think it's a 4 out of 10. Yeah.
And that I'm going to assume the 4 was from the first part of the movie.
Yeah, like there was enough stuff at the beginning where I mean, I didn't completely hate this movie. I'm never going to see it again. I'm never going to think about seeing it again. But there was stuff I enjoyed. I'm
glad I watched it.
I enjoyed I mean, it gives me some perspective. I don't know, Kajol, I'm guessing her name is Kajol. I enjoyed her performance. You know, I enjoyed I found SRK's performance
in times was good
to be pretty interesting. You know, it was definitely a different take. You know, although I feel like he was definitely studying some Dustin Hoffman. For most.
I mean, there's even a Walmart scene at the end.
Yeah,
he talks about Walmart, and for those who haven't seen Rain Man, Walmart is a huge part of that movie. And if you haven't seen Rain Man, I highly recommend it.
Well, not just that, but like the whole contesting when they're at the zoo or at the aquarium, wherever they're at the Discovery Museum. And they're like, okay, Team C, and you had this.
Oh, and he's going through it, the numbers thing, and he's a genius. He gets all the words.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is totally a Rain Man moment.
That was totally Rain Man, yeah.
And it's not Rain Man. Everyone's on the spectrum for autism. Some people are genuinely like that. That's obviously where it comes from. But for us, we see Rain Man.
That's a scene that was like almost identical to a Rain Man.
It was because he was at the casino and it was that number. He was doing counting cards or something like that. I forget what it was.
Well, there was one where he had to count how many jelly beans were in a jar. or something.
It was those like carnival games.
Yeah.
Real quick about Rain Man, though, if you guys haven't heard of it, I highly recommend it. I believe it was 1988 or something like that.
Yeah, I was right around this.
Dustin Hoffman won a Best Actor. I think they might have won Best Picture for it.
Tom Cruise was in it.
Tom Cruise was great in it. And what makes that movie great, and the reason why we keep bringing it up, is the movie's about autism, but they do it in a way
Barry Levinson.
That's not relevant to autism. They don't make it about autism because Tom Cruise is the main character.
And I want to say, like, I mean, I'm not, don't quote me on this. This isn't fact checking, but it's sort of one of the first dramedies out there, like mainstream dramedies that I can think of.
It's a hilarious movie,
right.
And it gets very serious.
Exactly.
Like when Tom Cruise is talking shit about him and just berating him. I don't know, but anyway, let's not make it. So my number, solid 3 out of 10, and that 3 is definitely from the first half of the movie or the first 40 minutes or 50 minutes. I would also never watch this movie again.
Yeah.
I'm glad I watched it. Now, the reason why...
I mean, and please give us the comments. I'm ready for this hate. But I am waiting for the SRK film that everybody talks about to blow my mind. Because so far, it has not happened yet. We've only watched 2 of them so far, but not been the most impressed by these films.
I mean, Chalk Day was clearly leaps and bounds better than this.
Yes,
but it still wasn't Dangal quality,
exactly.
In my opinion. Just going off Amir Khan.
We're definitely, if we're gonna, right now, I'm definitely on the Amir Khan team. Amir Khan.
Me too. Team AK
for the Battle of the Khans.
Yeah, and it's not even a competition in my opinion.
Nowhere near.
Just what we've seen so far, though. Got to preface that because that could change. That could shift. But I'm glad I watched this because there's certain people out there like, why waste your time? Why watch this? Or when people say that about the trailers we react to, or Go Agan, people said that. You don't know what a good movie is until you've watched a shitty one. And this is a shitty one. You have to have perspective. It's true. I mean, because we know there might be a good SRK movie out there.
Is it a shitty movie or is it a great movie?
This one? This movie?
Is it great?
Great?
It's great. Jesus Christ.
Great.
Your own fucking joke,
My own
and you already
joke.
forgot your joke.
I did.
What an idiot.
It's great. It's Siri great. That's what I'll call it. It's Siri great.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you don't have perspective, you can't really enjoy things. Because if you watch good things all the time, because that's the problem with me sometimes, especially when I was really in film school and like watching movies, I'd watch good movies all the time, right? And then once you start, if you watch nothing but good movies, you become highly critical of good movies.
Yeah.
And you start picking them apart because there's certain great movies that are better than other great movies, and then they make the other great movies look like they have more shortcomings.
Well, you start setting the bar too high is the issue, and then you start comparing it to the other one that you saw before, and especially if it has a similar thing to it, you're like, well, so-and-so did it better in this one.
When it's like they're both good.
Yeah,
like,
they're
just
both
chill.
good. Yeah, exactly. Like you don't need to put it up.
This one wasn't
against
good.
each other. No,
we need this. This is a palate cleanser.
Yeah.
This is definitely
absolutely
okay. Let's hope that the movies don't get any worse than
you
this.
like Tigers in the High way more than this.
Way more.
Okay.
I liked Eck the Tiger way more than this, and I thought Eck the Tiger was a pretty terrible movie.
Right.
It was, but at least that one was fun.
Right.
Eck the Tiger was fun. I enjoyed every single moment that was over the top.
I can say that about Sultan. The same thing. Like,
yeah, it was. I mean, except for the club dance
there was
numbers
some
at the end.
Some of the music scenes were bad.
This is a bad movie because it's bad.
Exactly.
Sultan was a bad movie because
there was cheese.
It was just cheesy.
Yeah.
This one was just bad. It's
right.
Just bad. I mean, if they cut out an hour of it, maybe it could have been better. Maybe.
I mean, if we're gonna offer like fixes for the movie, how to improve the movie, improvements, I think had they just focused on the relationship between him and
his wife
instead of
all this other stuff.
Exactly. Instead of going on this big road trip deal, like I think it would have been a better film altogether. Like them trying to repair the
cross distance, like
it just trying to repair the rest of their lives after this crazy thing has happened. How the rest of the world, like their entire world, is crumbling around them,
and the kid still could have died.
Yeah, he still could.
And then the wife could have put more effort to like find him. And because he's off the grid,
yeah,
maybe he didn't have a cell phone, and she can't find him, and that's a film in and of itself.
Instead of him chasing the president because he wants to win her back by saying something ridiculous, because I feel like even though he doesn't have a sense of humor because of his condition, I still think he didn't take everything that literal.
Not everything
so literal. Like I think
sometimes he did, but not
sometimes
everything.
Yeah, but something like that, I think he I think he would have picked up on that, and maybe it was just him being so heartbroken and not being able to show his emotion,
and not process it,
and not being able to deal with his emotion that he disappears.
There was another plant and payoff at the end of the movie where the very opening scene gets paid off at the very end. The white guy's like, "Oh, you're gonna talk to the president, huh? Well, tell him I said hello," or something like that.
Yeah,
and then he tells Obama,
yeah.
"Oh, so and so from TSA said hello." Yeah, howdy.
Yeah.
Which isn't at that point I didn't even care, but I mean it was funny. But I think that's it for me. I don't have anything else to say.
If we want to start nitpicking stuff too, that opening scene was rough. Like
it was edited rough.
The music
was not good.
There was like some Filipino girl in front of him was just kind of like, this guy's weird because he's like saying a prayer in Arabic.
Well, see,
and they snatch him out of line. Like there was,
When I was okay. Here's my thing, and I guess I'll say this then because I actually brought it up in the My Name Is Khan trailer reaction. When I was 9/11, I was 9 years old, and when I was 10 or 11, I went to Chicago with my parents. I think I was 10.
Yeah.
And we flew there. And when in the airport, I was scared because of 9/11.
Yeah.
Not because of anybody, but I was just scared to be on an airplane.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, I was scared before 9/11 because the plane would crash. Like, that's just me in general. And then 9/11 happens, and then obviously everything happens with 9/11. A year later, we got to take your shoes off. You got to do all this stuff. I remember sitting on an airplane going to Chicago, and there was a Sikh that I didn't know was a Sikh at the time, but I just saw a guy with a turban. Now, all over the news, what do you see? You see Osama bin Laden with the turban. That's clearly why people assumed that Sikhs were Muslims, because Osama bin Laden, every picture he had a turban on.
Well, it wasn't a turban.
It's not the same turban.
But he had a wrap on his head.
Yeah, he had the wrap. But that's what people called it. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's
Right.
how this becomes prevalent. This is how it spreads out in America. The news. It's all these things that we're seeing. And
Right.
I'm 9. I don't know any better.
And I don't know why this reminded me of the exchange in 40-Year-Old Virgin,
What?
Where the black guy was like, before I knock that rag off your head. And he said, do you see any turban on my head? Do you see anything on my head? I'm from Brooklyn. I have a Brooklyn accent.
I will hang your old ass by your turban.
Oh, turban now. Do you see any fucking turban here? Do I talk like a turban guy? Do I say, hey, Jay, do you want a Slurpee? You want a Slurpee? Fuck you, okay? I was born in Brooklyn, okay? My accent is a fucking Brooklyn accent, okay?
Like, that shit was hilarious.
Well, that scene
it made sense, too, because he didn't have anything in his head.
He's just brown.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's a good way to touch upon the issue, too, right there through comedy. But anyway, what I was saying is I remember getting scared. Seeing that guy, I'm like, oh, my God, this guy's a terrorist. I'm not even going to deny or lie that I did that. 100% true. And then I talked to my mom after, because after like an hour or two, you're like, oh, nothing's gonna happen, right? You kind of just out of sight, out of mind. You forget about it. You fall asleep, whatever. And I talked to my mom about it after, and she's like, no, he's not Muslim. She didn't say she was Sikh, but she said, no, these are different people, different cultures. Like, just because they have that on their head, that doesn't mean anything.
Right.
And I'm glad I talked to my mom about it, because I could have kept, making that a thing and telling people, oh my God. And then as I got older, I started to realize that the terrorists that did 9/11 were like handsome brown people. Like, they looked nothing like what you would see on TV.
No, absolutely
no
not.
beards, no like nothing. They were like businessmen. They
clean
were
shaven, short hair. Yeah.
It just completely, it completely just changed the perspective of it.
All right, guys. Well, that's gonna do it for us. Thanks for watching. The drill. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber, or leave comments. Let us know what you think about the review. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a controversial one. Or maybe not. I feel like a lot of the comments, people are actually agreeing with us. So, I mean, if you guys even bothered watching the review,
I'm just curious if our spam troll is going to come
back.
Yeah.
If he's going to come back. Well, welcome back. We haven't seen you in a while.
If he comes back.
If he comes back at all.
He's the super SRK dick rider.
I mean, I think the thing I'm most excited about in this video is the fights that are going to happen in the comment section. Like, I'm hoping, because they're
not even with us, just between
each other. Yeah, fuck you, you SRK dick rider. Look at your fucking profile picture and your name. Like, you're not fooling anybody, because there's stuff that we're not picking up on. Like, there's names of characters from movies we haven't seen.
Exactly. Or when
people know right away when someone's like Team SRK.
And not even that. Not only that. You start hearing about people who, my favorite is when they start speaking like Hindu or whatever languages they're speaking, and we don't understand it.
Right, and it's just back and forth.
And you can tell that like something,
like one English word here and there.
You can tell that something's going on, something intensive's going on. But anyway, no, I let us know in the comments what you feel.
So next review is going to come out next weekend. Obviously, we're going to be reviewing. We're going to be reviewing Rocky Handsome, starring John Abraham. Really excited for this. It's the first John Abraham movie that we've watched, and we really like the scene we reacted to. So I want to see the full spectrum of this John Abraham action ridiculousness.
And the reason why we're going to do this movie and not PK is because I'm getting my wisdom teeth out next week, so I'm not going to have time to just have a 40-minute review. So we're kind of picking this one.
It's going to be a shorter review for sure.
To kind of just make sure we get a review out there, because we're going to stay to this once a week thing. We don't want to lose track.
Right.
But PK's on the list. We have, a Wednesday, we have all these movies that we want to do.
Yeah, and we still need to finish Pictures. It's going to be happening soon.
And so if you guys have other recommendations of movies you want us to review, don't forget to let us know in the comments.
With the hashtag.
Add the hashtag #DGRequest. We know some of you are already doing that, so thank you. And hope you enjoyed this review. Yeah?
Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.